I spent all summer making a tank for one of the cutest fish. Let's get started. I found this tank in the trash, so I took that to my advantage, but there has to be some modifications first. I took the rim off of it so I would be able to take the tank apart. With that done, I have to take the front panel off. First step to doing that was to rip the silicone out of it. Once I did that, the glass fell gracefully out. After that was the dreaded cleaning part. The good news is, all bad things must come to an end. I finished scraping the silicone out of the tank, and then I got to the fun part, cutting the glass. I scored a line with the glass cutter, and then put pressure on that line. As you can see, this piece of glass I cut will be the doors for the setup. This is important because it'll keep humidity in and help the plants grow. Once you're done cutting glass, it does need a good bit of sanding so it doesn't cut your fingers off. I'm using a light cover as the hinge for my sliding door because I had it on hand and it's pretty affordable if you already don't have it. And the way I'm adhering the sliding door hinge to the setup is just with a small bead of silicone. I filled up the tank with water, and then it happened. I had a leak. It turns out that my silicone job didn't hold up, so I tried again. I'm trying to make a pump compartment so I can have a waterfall feature in the tank. I cut halfway through the corrugated plastic so it could conform to the shape I wanted. I also drilled holes so water could pass through the compartment and back out. I got egg crate light diffuser so the foam wouldn't just fall off the ceiling of the tank, but it would stick to it nicely. The foam process. I used a lot more foam than I thought I needed to begin with. This process is pretty straightforward. You hold the can upside down so you get all the foam out of the container. Make lines up and down with the foam to cover more surface area. Make sure to get the foam in the cracks of the egg crate light diffuser so it has a surface to adhere to. I'm using the black foam because it's better color than the yellow, and because when you go to paint this later on, you will have a darker base coat. I set up this egg crate line so I could put foam on it and make it a land feature of sorts. I used hot glue to adhere this to the bottom of the tank because I'm impatient. Then I foamed a lot more. Here's a little time lapse. Also, I drilled holes in airline tubing so I can make a drip wall in the tank. And almost as if I didn't have enough foaming on my hands, I foamed a lot more. I really enjoy carving because you can determine how you want your tank to look and even the direction of the water. This could really make or break your setup though. It's not all fun and games. One wrong move and you could scratch the glass, or maybe even worse, you could crack it. Thankfully though, for me, it was all smooth sailing. You want to try to make sure that when you're carving, it looks like the lines are all going the same direction. Like it was eroded out by water. When doing this, you want to try and make it all look like rock. I'm using a drill to carve it. I find that this drill head with the wires on the end of it makes it look the best. You do have to vacuum so you don't have so much debris in the way of your workspace. So I really find this process really relaxing and enjoyable, especially to watch. With paint, you start with the base coat. You want the coat to be the darkest, and you want it to get in every nook and cranny. So later on, you can add the highlights, and it doesn't look all muddled like one color. How I mix the paint, I put it in a cup, and then I put pigment in it, and then I mix the pigment on the foam. I'm going with a dark gray color for the rock. I'm just using a cheap paintbrush because I like cheap things. What can I say? With this first coat, you really want to get into every cranny and nook because it would make the tank look the best later on. It's really satisfying when you paint because I feel like every stroke you're adding a layer of rock onto just a normal piece of foam. Now time for the highlights. When painting highlights, I like to go for light gray with just a pinch of red. I find this makes the paint look much better, and the red adds a little bit of color that you normally wouldn't get with just gray. Though there is one problem with using dry lock paint, is you have to rinse it out after use because it has this sort of film that grows on it, and the film prevents vines and plants from growing on the background, and we definitely want those, so I'm gonna go rinse it out. With that done, I'm really happy with how this is looking, and I think it's time for the soil. The soil I'm using is aqua soil, but I had an epiphany. This soil is expensive, like $40 a bag, so I have to take it all out, and I'm going to be using some gravel that I found at my local riverbed for free. I'm putting the gravel in, and after that I'm putting the soil back, but I'm using a lot less aqua soil. But I still want to use the aqua soil for the plants so they have a lot more nutrients than they would with just the gravel. Now I could just use dirt, but dirt would really murk up the water and it could have excess nutrients that I wouldn't necessarily want in this setup. And it would cause tons of algae growth, and I'm not sure if that would look very good. So I think aqua soil is the way to go. I have a ton of plants. A ton. I'm starting out with some mosses because it's a good foundation plant to start. I'm putting everything on top of these mosses because they're not just acting as a green, lush, beautiful thing, but they're going to suck up a bunch of moisture and be a perfect area to plant the plant's roots in. These mosses will add some great texture, and along with the mosses, I'm also adding some philodendrons. I think their beautiful red color will pop in this setup and make it look amazing. I'm adding a ton of different kinds of plants in this setup, a lot more than I even needed. I'm adding this beautiful ginormous bromeliad. He'll probably grow out of the setup eventually, but alongside the bromeliad, I'm putting a chrysanthus. And as it matures, it's going to become a red color just like the philodendrons. In the water feature, I'm adding some dragon's tongue because it can grow submersed as well as above the water. And I sort of have to take a break on plants because I forgot something pretty important. I forgot to put in the sand. And, well, let's just say I needed to do that. And after that, I added a lot more vining plants to this setup. I added some heart-shaped peperominia, some scaled plant, you name it. There is a bunch of different kinds of plants here. And then I turned on the waterfall. And well, it needed some help. But with some adjusting, it looked good. And it looked like a flooded cave. So I put the doors on and let it sit. thank you all so much for watching. Hope you like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. And have a blessed day.